The Laniakea Supercluster is a colossal structure in the observable universe, a gravitationally bound region spanning over 500 million light-years. It is the vast basin in which our Milky Way, along with approximately 100,000 other galaxies, flows inward like water down a cosmic slope. The name Laniakea means immense heaven in Hawaiian, a fitting title for a structure that redefines our place in the cosmos. Rather than being a rigid cluster with sharp boundaries, Laniakea is defined by motion. Galaxies within it are not stationary, they drift through space, drawn along threads of dark matter and streams of intergalactic gas, gradually converging toward the Great Attractor, a mysterious region of immense gravitational influence near the center of this supercluster. Though invisible in many wavelengths, this central pull shapes the trajectories of galaxies on vast timescales, guiding them through an intricate web of matter that traces the architecture of the universe. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, is a member of a smaller collection of galaxies known as the local group. That local group resides within the Virgo cluster, which in turn is just a branch of the much larger Laniakea structure. In this sense, our galactic address reads like a nested hierarchy: Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Local Group, Virgo Cluster, Laniakea Supercluster. Each level is a step further into the cosmic web, a network of filaments and voids that spans the observable universe like an intricate lace of light and gravity. The discovery of Laniakea was made possible by tracking the peculiar velocities of galaxies, that is, their motion not explained by cosmic expansion alone. By mapping these flows, astronomers could discern where galaxies were headed, revealing the underlying gravitational landscape. It turned out that what we once thought were isolated clusters are actually part of a vast, coherent flow of matter, all being drawn toward a common center. What makes Laniakea especially fascinating is that it challenges our perception of scale and boundaries. Superclusters like this are not tightly bound objects like galaxies or star systems. Instead, they are enormous regions where gravity competes with the expansion of the universe. Over time, structures like Laniakea may eventually become isolated islands in the cosmic ocean as the universe continues to accelerate in its expansion, driven by dark energy. The galaxies that now flow toward the Great Attractor might one day find themselves gravitationally marooned, cut off from the wider universe. This realization, that Laniakea is not just a static collection of galaxies, but a dynamic river of matter shaped by invisible currents, transforms how we think about our position in the cosmos. The galaxies are not randomly scattered, they are embedded within a pattern, like leaves floating down a branching stream. These patterns are sculpted by the invisible scaffolding of dark matter, whose gravity dictates the motion of luminous matter like stars and galaxies. It is through this unseen architecture that the universe organizes itself. To grasp the scale of Laniakea is to confront the limits of human intuition. A single light year, the distance light travels in 1 year, is nearly 10 trillion kilometers. Laniakea stretches over 500 million such light-years across, encompassing realms we will never physically reach, even with the most advanced propulsion concepts imaginable. Within this volume reside galaxy clusters with hundreds of billions of stars, some far older than Earth itself. And yet, when viewed from a greater distance, even Laniakea is only one among many. The cosmic web extends far beyond. Laniakea borders other superclusters like Perseus Pisces and Coma, which themselves are parts of larger filaments, intersecting across a tapestry that stretches the length of the visible universe. This network of matter is not random, it evolved from the faintest fluctuations in the early universe, tiny variations in density that gravity slowly amplified over billions of years. Where the matter was slightly denser, gravity pulled in more material, eventually birthing galaxies, clusters, and superclusters. Laniakea is one such outcome of this primordial architecture. At its core, the study of Laniakea is the study of motion, structure, and emergence. It's a reminder that we are not in a privileged place, nor at the center of the universe. Instead, we are adrift on a vast galactic current, orbiting a star in a spiral arm of a modest galaxy, itself drifting within a cosmic river we only recently learned to perceive. Every point of light in the night sky is part of this flow. Every galaxy we map adds a dot to the grand portrait of Laniakea's gravitational pull. Our efforts to understand Laniakea go beyond mere cartography, they touch on the fundamental nature of reality. Why does gravity assemble matter into such shapes? Why is the universe structured like a web and not something else? And what lies beyond the edge of Laniakea, beyond even our observational horizon? As we peer deeper into the void and trace the gravitational tides that shape our corner of space, we begin to see that the universe is not a random expanse but a structured, evolving entity, alive with motion, governed by invisible laws, and full of meaning waiting to be revealed. As we refine our instruments and sharpen our models, our perception of structures like Laniakea evolves. Surveys such as cosmic flows and observations from telescopes across the electromagnetic spectrum have allowed astronomers to measure the distances and velocities of thousands of galaxies with unprecedented accuracy. These measurements unveil not only where galaxies are but where they're going, painting a three-dimensional map not frozen in time, but alive with movement. The flow toward the Great Attractor, and ultimately toward the Shapley supercluster beyond it, suggests that even Laniakea itself is not the final stop. It is part of a grander gravitational cascade, influenced by mass concentrations at ever larger scales. Our supercluster drifts as a single, coherent entity through the gravitational tides of the larger cosmic web. The notion of a cosmic address becomes not just a list of nested structures, but a map of motions, a record of where we come from and where we are headed. And yet, there is an inevitable loneliness in this vastness. Even though Laniakea contains tens of thousands of galaxies, the space between them is immense. Most of the volume of the supercluster is void, dark, cold, and silent. The galaxies are like isolated beacons in a near-infinite blackness. Light from some of them has traveled hundreds of millions of years just to reach our telescopes. What we observe is not the present moment, but ancient flickers, long-ago states of worlds that may no longer exist as we see them. Still, this sense of cosmic solitude is accompanied by a profound beauty. The fact that we can understand our place in such a grand structure is nothing short of astonishing. Tiny creatures on a rocky planet, circling a medium-sized star in the outskirts of a spiral galaxy, have figured out that they are part of a supercluster 100,000 galaxies wide. We've decoded the motion of entire galaxy swarms, read the gravitational signatures etched into the heavens, and traced the outlines of structures billions of light-years across, all from a single vantage point in space and time. Laniakea is not just a structure, it is a narrative. It tells a story about emergence and connection, about hidden forces and universal flows. It links our fate to galaxies we cannot name and stars we will never see. And in doing so, it offers a humbling perspective, that we are not separate from the universe, not mere observers, but participants in its unfolding. We are part of a galaxy, part of a cluster, part of a supercluster, part of a flow of matter shaped by gravity since the dawn of time. Even as dark energy drives galaxies apart and the universe accelerates into its future, the memory of these connections will remain embedded in the fabric of spacetime. The story of Laniakea is the story of belonging to a structure beyond imagination, written not in words, but in the trajectories of galaxies, the dance of gravity, and the silent currents of the cosmos. One day, perhaps billions of years from now, this cosmic river we call Laniakea will no longer be visible in the way it is today. The accelerating expansion of the universe will stretch space so much that galaxies beyond our local group will vanish from view, receding faster than light can bridge the growing gulf. The Virgo cluster, the broader supercluster, and all of its magnificent structure will slip beyond the cosmic horizon, leaving behind only a shrinking bubble of what once was, a remnant of a once-connected universe. In that distant future, intelligent beings, if they still exist, may look out into the night sky and see only the remnants of the Milky Way and its closest neighbors. Without the vast cosmic web to map, without distant galaxies to measure or redshifts to calculate, they may conclude that their galaxy is the entirety of the universe. And yet, here and now, we have the rare privilege of living at a time when the universe still speaks to us in its full voice, when we can see the grand design, when light from billions of years ago still reaches our instruments, telling stories of structure, gravity, and time. Laniakea, in this way, becomes not just a physical structure, but a kind of window into the universe's history and its destiny. It captures a fleeting moment of unity before inevitable separation. It is a bridge between the ancient past, when the first fluctuations formed in the cosmic microwave background, and the deep future, when all large-scale structures will recede into unreachable silence. Understanding it is an act of cosmic archaeology, a decoding of patterns that link galaxies and clusters across incomprehensible scales. And within this colossal structure, we find ourselves. Not just metaphorically, but literally, we are atoms born from the cores of ancient stars, bound by gravity to a galaxy moving along an invisible current, itself just one ripple in a cosmic tide. The same gravity that shapes the orbits of planets and stars also binds superclusters, weaves filaments, and drives the flow of entire galaxy chains. The same laws that govern an apple falling to Earth extend across 500 million light-years of space. This continuity of physical law across scale is one of the universe's most profound revelations. The Laniakea Supercluster reminds us that structure arises not from chaos, but from interaction, from influence, from the invisible shaping hand of gravity. It reminds us that everything is connected, and that even in the most silent reaches of deep space, there is motion, history, and purpose etched into the very layout of galaxies. To study Laniakea is to contemplate the largest cartography ever drawn, one not of lands or oceans, but of existence itself, mapped by the stars. The map of Laniakea is not just a scientific achievement, it is a kind of cosmic poetry. It reveals a universe that is not random and meaningless, but coherent and interconnected, a living structure, shaped by time, gravity, and the deep memory of the Big Bang. The galaxies do not float aimlessly, they move as if remembering the ancient rhythm that set them in motion. Every filament is a sentence, every cluster a punctuation mark, and Laniakea as a whole becomes a chapter in the epic story of the cosmos. Within that story, our role may seem vanishingly small, yet it is deeply significant. For we are not just part of this structure, we are observers of it. The atoms in our bodies were forged in stars that orbit within galaxies that flow along gravitational currents traced by dark matter. And from this confluence of matter and time, consciousness emerged, eyes capable of seeing starlight, minds capable of asking where that starlight comes from. In Laniakea's swirling depths, the cosmos gave rise to beings that could map it, name it, and wonder at its scale. It's easy to forget that our understanding of structures like Laniakea is barely a decade old. For most of human history, the stars were thought to be fixed lights on a distant dome. Only recently have we come to grasp the layered architecture of the universe, from exoplanets to galactic filaments. Superclusters were once just abstractions. Now, with data-driven maps and velocity models, they are tangible. We can trace the motions of galaxies like oceanographers following the flow of currents in a vast, invisible sea. The deeper we look, the more we find that the universe does not just contain structure, it is structure. From the orbit of electrons to the orbit of galaxies, from quantum foam to Laniakea, the cosmos is an intricate hierarchy of patterns nested within patterns. And those patterns aren't static. They evolve. They stretch and collide and merge. Laniakea is not a monument, it is a process, an evolving network of motion sculpted by gravity across the ages. In some ways, Laniakea is a mirror. When we map its form, we glimpse the shape of our own curiosity, the reach of our instruments, the power of our equations, the depth of our longing to understand where we are. It offers not only a scale to measure ourselves against, but a framework to appreciate that the story of the universe is also our story. We are made of the same materials, born from the same laws, flowing along the same currents. To look into the heart of Laniakea is to feel both the weight of insignificance and the uplift of connection. For in this vast river of galaxies, in this grand lattice of space and time, we are both a speck and a spark, tiny, yes, but capable of illuminating the whole. And in that illumination, something extraordinary happens. The universe, once thought to be cold and indifferent, begins to reflect meaning, not imposed from without, but discovered from within. Laniakea, though deaf and mute by human standards, becomes a kind of silent symphony, where the arrangement of galaxies sings of a harmony governed not by chance, but by the subtle interplay of energy, mass, and time. Each gravitational arc, each cosmic flow, becomes a note in a melody stretching across billions of light-years. What began as mere observation, measuring redshifts, plotting coordinates, becomes revelation. We realize that the universe is not just expanding, but evolving, blooming into complexity through a delicate tension between order and entropy. Structures like Laniakea are not frozen snapshots, they are episodes in an ongoing transformation, shaped by the push of dark energy and the pull of gravity, the ebb of time and the flare of starlight. Every supercluster, every filament, every void is part of a cosmic choreography too vast for any single perspective to fully grasp, and yet, from our singular point of view, we try. That act of trying is, perhaps, the most beautiful element of all. Despite our fragility, despite our momentary presence in cosmic time, we reach out. With telescopes that drink the light of distant galaxies, with simulations that run on the breath of supercomputers, with equations carved into chalkboards and minds filled with wonder, we reconstruct the architecture of reality. We name the unnameable. We draw maps of the infinite. And in doing so, we do not shrink before the vastness, we belong to it. There is a humility in Laniakea's lesson. It reminds us that we are not the center of the universe, not even of our own galaxy, or our cluster. But there is also power in this perspective. To be aware of such scales, to trace the invisible tides that guide galaxies, is to participate in the universe's self-awareness. Through us, the cosmos has turned its gaze inward, and seen itself, fleetingly, imperfectly, yet truly. And so, as we drift inside this vast gravitational embrace, through a supercluster whose edges we will never reach, around a star whose light is borrowed time, on a planet no larger than a mote of dust in a sunbeam, we do something remarkable. We think. We wonder. We explore. And as long as we do, the story of Laniakea will never be just a structure, it will be a dialogue between mind and cosmos, between the deep silence of space and the bright fire of thought. This dialogue, between what is and what can be understood, continues to deepen with every discovery. As we refine our measurements and expand the frontiers of observation, the structure of Laniakea becomes clearer, more textured, more alive. The galaxies that move through it trace not random paths, but respond to subtle interplays of gravitational influence, accelerating here, curving there, forming swarms, merging, and collapsing. These patterns are more than cartographic curiosities, they are records of the universe's history written in the language of motion. And we, ephemeral and recent, have learned to read that language. We've come to understand that the cosmos is not inert, it is dynamic, shaped by processes that transcend the scale of planets or stars. The same invisible force that holds our feet to the ground binds galaxies to superclusters and entire regions of space into flowing rivers of matter. We now see that Laniakea is not just where we are, it is how we are. Its gravity has helped shape the conditions for our existence, its filaments have directed the flow of gas and galaxies that led, eventually, to stars like the Sun and planets like Earth. But Laniakea also hints at mysteries still unresolved. Beneath its visible structure lies a framework of dark matter, an elusive substance that does not emit or absorb light, yet outweighs the visible universe 5-to-1. It is dark matter that weaves the scaffolding upon which galaxies hang like dew on a spider's web. It is this hidden architecture that gives Laniakea its form. And even deeper still lies dark energy, the mysterious force accelerating the expansion of the universe, the very reason that one day, Laniakea's structure may become unknowable to any future observer. These elements, so central to the universe's fate, remain, for now, among the greatest enigmas of science. Still, we reach forward. We build more powerful observatories, like the James Webb Space Telescope, which sees galaxies as they were billions of years ago, near the dawn of structure itself. We deploy radio arrays and gravitational wave detectors, mapping not just light, but spacetime itself. With each step, we push the horizon of knowledge outward, sketching more of Laniakea's contours, filling in the vast emptiness with understanding, if not presence. And perhaps that is the true significance of knowing we live in Laniakea. It reminds us that we are not rootless observers, floating in arbitrary space. We are participants in a vast network, inhabitants of a structure that connects us to galaxies 100 million light-years away, not metaphorically, but gravitationally. We are tied, invisibly, to stars we will never see, moving in rhythm with countless other worlds. We are not alone, not because of the presence of life elsewhere, but because of the deep structural belonging that Laniakea reveals. In this view, existence becomes an act of connection. Every moment of scientific insight, every data point and equation, is part of a conversation billions of years in the making. The universe writes itself into our consciousness, and we, in turn, write back. The structure of Laniakea is not finished. As long as there are minds to explore it, its meaning will keep expanding, like the universe itself. And in that endless expansion, of space, of knowledge, of meaning, we find ourselves not overwhelmed, but inspired. The immensity of Laniakea does not diminish us, it amplifies us. For every galaxy it contains, every filament that threads through its depths, is part of a cosmic symphony that we have only begun to hear. And somehow, against all odds, we are attuned to its music. Even our technology, fragile, temporary, flickering, extends the reach of our senses into realms previously beyond imagining. When we point our instruments outward, we are reaching not just across space, but across time. Much of what we see in Laniakea is ancient light, photons that began their journey before humans even existed. We are watching the past unfold, galaxy by galaxy, as it was when the universe was younger, denser, more chaotic. We are reconstructing, with patience and precision, the great flows that have shaped the universe's structure from the earliest epochs to now. And in those reconstructions, we catch glimpses of an even deeper truth, that structure itself may be the universe's most enduring expression. Not any one galaxy, not any particular moment in time, but the pattern that emerges when billions of them interact over billions of years. Laniakea is a testament to this pattern, a frozen wave of cosmological memory, a snapshot of the universe mid-breath. It may be tempting to view all this as distant and abstract, yet the consequences are deeply personal. The gravity that binds the Milky Way within Laniakea also governed the collapse of the cloud that formed the Sun, and the delicate dance of particles that eventually gave rise to life. Our biology, our cultures, even our myths are responses to an environment shaped by cosmic motion. We are not outside this structure, peering in, we are woven into its very fabric, the thinking part of a galaxy that drifts through a supercluster in a universe that gave us both chaos and order. So when we look at Laniakea, we are not just looking out, we are looking back, and inward, and forward all at once. It is a map, yes, but also a mirror, and a question. It invites us to explore, to remember our origins, and to imagine our place in a future that will outlast stars. It shows us that the cosmos is not static or senseless, but alive with relationships, shaped by invisible forces, and bound together in a unity so vast we are only beginning to describe it. To live in Laniakea is to live within a story far older and larger than ourselves. But it is also to be part of the telling. As we continue that telling, we become stewards of a rare perspective, one that may not arise often in the cosmos. For intelligence capable of mapping a supercluster must emerge under delicate conditions, a stable star, a habitable planet, time enough for evolution, curiosity enough for science, and peace enough to look up rather than merely survive. And here we are, at this brief intersection in cosmic history, with both the means and the will to understand where we are. Perhaps this awareness is itself a natural phase in the life of a galaxy, a moment when matter becomes reflective, when atoms forged in stars begin to ask questions about their origin and fate. Through us, Laniakea has become self-aware. It has named itself. And in doing so, it has given us something profound, not just knowledge, but a sense of belonging. This belonging is not based on geography, language, or culture. It is deeper than any border. It is the shared fact that every human being, every living thing, and every atom we know is part of the same structure. We are all children of the same gravitational well, born from the same cosmic river, shaped by the same ancient forces. Laniakea is our address, but also our inheritance. And it is fragile. The universe will not preserve this moment for us. Stars die, galaxies collide, structures evolve, and time stretches. If we want to keep this knowledge, we must pass it on. If we want to expand it, we must protect the conditions that make discovery possible: cooperation, reason, wonder. The map of Laniakea is not yet complete, and perhaps it never will be. But every generation has the opportunity to add a line, a connection, a spark. In the end, Laniakea is not just a supercluster. It is an idea. It is the recognition that even in the vastness of space, structure exists, meaning emerges, and life can bloom. It tells us that the universe is not an empty stage, but a living field of relationships, some gravitational, some chemical, some conscious. To know this, and to feel it, is to step into a larger identity, not just as inhabitants of Earth, or even the Milky Way, but as participants in a supercluster's long, graceful unfolding. It is to understand that while we may be small, we are not insignificant. For in our minds, the pattern of Laniakea has become more than a structure. It has become a story. And we are its voice. And as its voice, we carry a responsibility, one that transcends the boundaries of science and enters the realm of philosophy, even ethics. For to recognize ourselves as part of Laniakea is to understand that we are entangled not only with the stars above, but with one another. The same light that travels between galaxies also crosses the distances between human beings. The same gravity that binds clusters of galaxies binds us in a deeper sense of shared existence. We are made of the same stardust, pulled by the same invisible threads, moving together through space and time. This recognition should humble us. On a cosmic scale, our conflicts, our divisions, even our histories are brief flickers, like lightning on the surface of a deep sea. And yet, within those flickers, meaning can be found. It is in the quiet accumulation of understanding, in the fragile continuity of memory, in the pursuit of knowledge despite uncertainty, that humanity becomes more than a moment. We become a continuation of the universe's own process, a self-organizing, self-questioning structure capable of looking into the heart of the void and not turning away. Laniakea, then, is more than a location. It is a metaphor for the interconnectedness of all things. It reminds us that separation is often illusion, that galaxies which seem isolated are part of vast coherent flows, that stars which die seed the birth of others, that what appears as empty space is woven with potential. And it reminds us, too, that time itself is layered, that we are witnessing the past, living the present, and dreaming the future simultaneously. There may come a time when no trace of Laniakea remains, when entropy stretches matter thin, when the stars burn out, when light itself fades. But that future is not yet. We exist in a window of clarity, a brief epoch when the universe is still legible, still vibrant with information, still capable of being mapped, known, and wondered at. This is our age of vision, and we must use it wisely. For in the end, what we choose to do with this awareness will define the legacy of our species. Will we remain confined to our small corner of the cosmos, or will we reach further, across systems, across superclusters, across time itself? Will we carry the story of Laniakea with us, preserving the memory of what we've discovered, and perhaps adding new chapters in places where no light from Earth has ever touched? These are not just scientific questions. They are human ones. They speak to our imagination, our courage, our willingness to see the universe not as a backdrop, but as our shared inheritance. And if we choose to honor that inheritance, not by conquest, but by understanding, then Laniakea will not merely be a map in a telescope's eye. It will be a monument to our emergence, a sign that even in a universe ruled by gravity and silence, consciousness rose and said, "I see." And in that act, "I see," the universe becomes something new. For billions of years, it expanded and evolved without witness. Galaxies collided, stars were born and died, black holes devoured light, and not a single thought stirred. But with the rise of perception, on one small world, around one quiet star, the cosmos crossed a threshold. It began to be observed. And in being observed, it began to be reflected, mirrored in the minds of the beings it shaped. We, the observers, are not separate from this unfolding. We are the product of it. Every neuron in the human brain, every synapse that fires with curiosity or awe, was formed from matter forged in ancient stars. The calcium in our bones, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our cells, all of it once drifted through space as dust, carried along the rivers of Laniakea. Now, that dust has become aware of itself. It has given itself eyes, language, tools, and dreams. It has built telescopes and equations and mythologies to make sense of its origins. And perhaps, one day, it will carry that awareness beyond this planet. Perhaps, across generations, it will extend itself outward, not through conquest, but through continuity, preserving the spark of thought, of wonder, of story. If it does, then Laniakea will not only be the place of our origin, it will be the cradle of something more, a civilization that knows where it came from, and chooses to act with that knowledge. That civilization may never reach the far edges of the supercluster. The distances are immense, the obstacles severe. But even if we never leave this solar system, the act of knowing, of realizing that we are part of something vast, changes us. It shifts the scale of our questions. It softens our certainty. It binds us to a context greater than nation, than species, than even time. And it reminds us that even the smallest acts of thought, of looking up, of asking why, are not wasted. They are part of the same cosmic process that formed galaxies and superclusters. They are expressions of the universe becoming aware. They are, in the deepest sense, acts of connection. So we return again to that phrase, we live in Laniakea. Not just physically, but poetically. We move within its gravity. We think within its story. We shine, briefly, as points of consciousness in its great cloud of stars. And while we may be finite, the meaning we draw from that awareness is not. In every map we make, every question we ask, every truth we share, we speak, softly but clearly, across the silence of the universe, and that belonging, earned not by birthright, but by attention, by curiosity, by care, is the quiet triumph of consciousness. It is the realization that the cosmos does not need to speak in order to be heard, that it does not need intent to offer meaning. It simply is, and in being, it gives us the raw material for understanding. We, in turn, give it narrative, structure, metaphor. We connect the stars not just with gravitational equations, but with wonder. In Laniakea, we see the convergence of countless pasts, stars that exploded before Earth existed, galaxies that collided when the first single-celled life was stirring in the oceans. And we also see countless futures, billions of stars still burning, worlds still forming, perhaps minds still awakening in the spiral arms of distant, unnamed galaxies. Each of them moving, quietly, along the same cosmic rivers that carry us. There is comfort in this continuity. We are not outside observers peering in. We are inside a living story. Our atoms have already traveled a journey that spans galaxies. And when our bodies return to the dust, that journey will continue, new stars, new worlds, new chances for awareness to rise again. But while we are here, brief flashes of thought within this grand lattice, we can choose what kind of presence we wish to be. We can choose to be destructive, blind to the gift of perspective we've been given. Or we can be custodians of knowledge, architects of meaning, protectors of the fragile thread of awareness that winds through space and time. Laniakea, in its silent immensity, asks nothing of us. It neither judges nor guides. But the very act of mapping it, of naming it, of recognizing ourselves within it, reveals that we are capable of something precious, reverence without superstition, awe without fear, connection without conquest. In the end, perhaps that is the true message encoded in the stars, that complexity can give rise to beauty, that beauty can awaken awareness, and that awareness, however fleeting, can offer gratitude. Gratitude for the light that traveled eons to meet our eyes. Gratitude for the structures that shaped our world long before we knew to look. Gratitude for the chance, not to own the universe, but to be of it. And so we whisper back to Laniakea, across gulfs of silence and time, we see you. We thank you. We will remember. And as we remember, as we continue to chart the contours of this immense celestial web, we begin to realize that the act of remembrance itself is revolutionary. It transforms fleeting existence into enduring significance. For memory is not only the domain of the human mind, it is the architecture of the universe. In every spiral of a galaxy, in every gravitational pull, in the distribution of mass across the cosmos, there is a record of all that has come before. The universe remembers, in shape, in motion, in silence. And we, through science and story, awaken that memory and give it voice. The Laniakea Supercluster is one such memory made visible. It is not merely a location in the heavens, not just a cartographic fact, it is a fossil of cosmic evolution, a preserved impression of the great dance of matter since the Big Bang. It is a signature left behind by gravity's persistent hand over billions of years, carving paths of motion from the random chaos of primordial gas into coherent, flowing forms. These forms, filaments, nodes, basins of attraction, are the veins and bones of the cosmic body, and Laniakea is one of its vital organs. Within its embrace, galaxies do not simply exist, they journey. They move toward points of convergence shaped by unseen dark matter, drawn along filaments like water pulled toward the deepest part of an ocean basin. The Milky Way, along with Andromeda and the rest of our local group, is caught in this drift. We are not stationary inhabitants of space, but travelers within it, following invisible roads paved not with light but with gravity. To be aware of this motion is to experience a form of awakening. It is the shift from viewing the stars as isolated pinpricks in the night to understanding them as connected nodes in a living, breathing structure. It is the realization that our galaxy is not an island, but a ripple in a vast gravitational sea, one of countless others moving with silent purpose toward a destiny still unfolding. But what is destiny in the context of Laniakea? It is not preordained. It is not fixed. It is the accumulation of countless interactions, of dark matter and baryonic matter, of hydrogen clouds and stellar winds, of supernovae and time. And within this intricate weave, life emerged. Not in defiance of the universe, but as a natural outgrowth of its deepest principles. Complexity, once seated, deepens. Matter organizes. Consciousness, fragile and unlikely, rises from dust, then dares to look back at the stars. And what it sees there is not just scale, but kinship. Every galaxy within Laniakea, no matter how distant, is bound to us in origin and in motion. Though the space between them may take millions of years for light to cross, the gravitational bonds that link us are timeless in their reach. We are part of a vast kin network of galaxies, a celestial diaspora, all born from the same ancient expansion, all moving through the same unseen geometry. This changes what it means to be alone. It suggests that solitude is an illusion born of proximity. In truth, we are never alone. We are gravitationally entangled with galaxies we will never see. We are stardust spun into awareness by the same forces that shaped the most distant cluster. We are not separate from the universe. We are its newest pattern, learning to recognize itself. This realization calls for a new kind of cosmology, one not just of mass and motion, but of meaning and memory. A cosmology that does not strip the universe of wonder but restores it, grounded in empirical truth and lit by philosophical insight. Laniakea becomes a symbol of that vision, not just a supercluster, but a metaphor for connectedness, for purpose found in pattern, for reverence born of recognition. And so, as we look farther and understand more, our role shifts. We are no longer passive recipients of cosmic facts, we are narrators, chroniclers, and caretakers of the universe's unfolding story. Each new discovery becomes not just an addition to human knowledge, but a contribution to the universe's self-understanding. Through us, it learns to speak. Through us, it tells its story, not as a cold mechanism, but as a vast, dynamic, and ultimately participatory whole. To live in Laniakea is to live in a structure sculpted by silence, yet filled with potential voices. And we are the first among them. And as the first voice to rise from the depths of this immense silence, we speak not only in data and diagrams, but in language shaped by awe. Our words, formed by tongues of stardust, carried on breath that was once atomic vapor drifting through ancient nebulae, carry a resonance deeper than syntax. When we say Laniakea, we are not just naming a structure. We are claiming a relationship. We are saying, this is where we come from. This is what we are part of. This is what we remember. And memory, in this cosmic context, becomes a form of resistance against the fading. For the universe is vast, but it is also impermanent. Stars die. Galaxies decay. Entropy grows. Even the grand structure of Laniakea is not eternal. It is a phase, a majestic and intricate one, yes, but still a transient expression in an ever-evolving cosmos. There will come a time when gravitational bonds weaken, when dark energy stretches the fabric of space so dramatically that distant galaxies fade from reach, from view, from meaning. Yet memory defies that fading. By understanding the structure now, by tracing its flows, by naming its nodes, by speaking of its grandeur, we preserve its image in minds and in archives, in poetry and in physics. And in doing so, we ensure that Laniakea does not vanish unnoticed. It becomes a remembered shape, a known form. Even if its light is lost to expansion, its pattern will endure in us, as story, as science, as legacy. And perhaps that is our truest role. Not to conquer the stars, not to survive indefinitely, but to bear witness. To testify, through thought and exploration and love of knowledge, that the universe once gave rise to beings who knew. Beings who mapped the invisible rivers that galaxies sail upon, who felt humility in the face of vastness, and who responded not with despair, but with wonder. It is a wonder that folds science and spirit into one gesture, the act of looking up, of tracing the path of our galaxy through Laniakea, and of realizing that we are part of a process that began before time and stretches beyond it. This is not just knowledge, it is communion. We do not float alone in the void. We move in concert with a million suns, with clouds of gas that span the stars, with waves of gravity that ripple across eternity. To live in Laniakea is to be part of a dance far older than any culture, any species, any world. It is to feel the pull of something deeper than identity, something shared by all things that exist. It is to belong not just to Earth, but to structure, to rhythm, to the sacred pattern of motion that links all. And still, we wonder, are there others who know? Do other eyes trace the filaments of superclusters, other voices name the flows of their galaxies? Are we a singular consciousness within Laniakea, or just the first to awaken? In the quiet intervals between our questions, the stars continue their journey, indifferent but beautiful. And in the absence of answers, we still listen, and still speak. Because that is what life does when it knows it is alive. It listens to the silence. And it answers with light. And so, with each answer cast into the dark, with each photon measured and each equation refined, we become something more than a species, we become a phenomenon. A manifestation of the universe's capacity to reflect, to internalize, to narrate itself. For in the heart of Laniakea, amid a billion swirling galaxies, a single world rose from dust and sea and silence, and looked back. That world is ours. That gaze is ours. We do not yet know how rare this awakening is. We do not know whether consciousness has bloomed in other corners of Laniakea, or if we are the lone lantern of thought flickering in its incomprehensible span. But rarity does not reduce significance. If anything, it deepens it. For the improbability of our emergence makes our clarity more urgent. We must not only understand, but preserve. Not only explore, but care. Not only remember, but imagine. Imagination, this strange, miraculous extension of awareness, is what allows us to go where our bodies cannot. We may never visit the Virgo cluster's core. We may never drift through the hot gas halos of distant galaxies or sail along the great filaments of dark matter that thread Laniakea together. But in our minds, we already have. We've mapped them. Modeled them. Sung about them in data, painted them in image, mirrored them in metaphor. We've stitched them into the tapestry of human thought. And this is no small thing. For every civilization rises first in imagination. Before the ship sails, it is dreamed. Before the equation is proved, it is wondered. Before the telescope sees, the eye yearns. Laniakea, then, is not just a structure we discovered, it is a structure we joined, through the act of seeing, the act of naming, the act of knowing. And what we join, we shape. With every discovery we make, about galaxy motion, about dark matter, about the early universe, we refine the map. We draw with greater precision. We color with deeper insight. Our understanding becomes part of the structure's very presence in the world, part of the narrative it now carries, not just of hydrogen and helium, but of thought, of feeling, of perspective. For science, at its best, is not cold measurement, it is communion. It is our attempt to bridge the gap between the human scale and the cosmic, to build a ladder between the cell and the supercluster, between the breath and the void. It's not enough to know the size of Laniakea, we must also feel the weight of what it means to exist within it. To drift with our galaxy not just through space, but through context. Through belonging. Because to belong is not merely to reside, it is to participate, to matter. And though we are small in mass and brief in time, our awareness gives us leverage far beyond our scale. A single mind can map 1,000 galaxies. A single equation can describe the dance of light across 10 billion years. A single story, well told, can carry the echo of a supercluster into the future. So let us tell it well. Let us teach each other that we live in a web of gravity and grace, that our home is not merely Earth, or even the Milky Way, but this entire flow of galaxies spiraling inward to the great attractor, embedded in a filament of motion, swimming in the dark sea of the cosmos. Let us teach that to live in Laniakea is to live inside a cosmic breath, one inhalation in the story of structure, one rhythm among many, fleeting yet real. And as long as we tell this story, as long as we remember the pattern and renew the vision, Laniakea will live, not just in the stars, but in us. In our languages. In our songs. In the quiet pulse of questions asked by children looking up for the first time. For in the end, the truest map of the universe is not the one we draw on paper or screen, but the one we carry within, the constellation of meaning that orbits our awe, the spiral of curiosity that keeps turning in the dark. And so we continue, not because the universe demands it, but because it allows it. Because, among the galaxies, something stirred. Something asked, where are we? And in asking, it found a name, Laniakea, immense heaven. A name that is now part of us, and we, in turn, part of it. And so, beneath this immense heaven, we remain, watchful, wondering, wide-eyed. We stand on a fragile world orbiting a modest star, drifting in the spiral arm of a galaxy that itself drifts through a current of thousands more, all converging toward a gravitational center we cannot see. This is our address. But more than that, it is our origin, our trajectory, our belonging. To live in Laniakea is to live in a cosmos that remembers, that evolves, that binds its distant parts through silent force and invisible thread. It is to walk upon a planet shaped by the flow of galactic tides. It is to be made from atoms born in stars we will never know, moving in concert with galaxies we will never reach. And yet, we see. And in seeing, we connect. In connecting, we understand. In understanding, we remember. And in remembering, we endure. Let Laniakea be more than a name on a map. Let it be the symbol of our awakening, of the moment the universe, through us, first realized that it was beautiful.